Well, from the very get-go, we was left out. Very seldom we was written about in the magazines, newspapers, the like. That's how prejudiced some of the people were back in the days, the writers in the magazines, the books and all. They never wanted to tell the true story.
Before this one, I was never on any magazine, and I never saw any blacks or even pictures of them in any magazine.
Well, we're not going to put articles about you guys. We're going to write about the white guys.
The Black Belt magazine, 1971, the most dangerous man in America, a small caption with no picture. Those guys were defeated. And maybe a couple of them had beat him before as well. I'm not going to say that didn't happen. I'm saying the fact that he beat them smaller than they were. Everybody talk about how short Bruce Lee was. They were basically the same height.
We can start off with big Mike Foster, 6'6", 275 pounds, strong as an ox. Had a spread, a span, he'd get in a kibidachi, a side stance, and he could pivot in and reach around, grab a guy, pick him up, hit him, boom, throw him down. Brute strength. Too strong, too big to even be fighting. The Japanese champion, undefeated. Canadian champion, undefeated. American champion, undefeated. Nobody beating him. He was Dr. Shitose bodyguard. Dr. Shitose is one of the grandmasters from Japan, come to the United States. Mike Foster, bodyguard. That's how tough and strong he was. He win every tournament. He throw a kick, boom, break a guy's rib, put him on the journey, the stretchers, roll him on to the hospital. We used to have the ambulance right at the door and the stretchers inside, ready for these guys to land. Well, Vic Moore had to fight him. I was like a mice fighting an elephant. But I went through his legs, jumped on his back, swung up on his leg. I couldn't let him touch me. That's in 1965, Miami, Florida, Grand National. I beat him. His first defeat come to my hand. I'm the only one to defeat him. Master Trias, who brought karate to America, the father of American karate, said that was one of the best matches he ever seen in his life. Boy, that was one of my toughest fights. But I beat him, and I put a licking on him.
But then I hear about Mike Stone, who was a big man, who I really admired in karate. I like the way his hair was neat, afro and stuff. You know, I was wondering about his race.
And Mike Stone, he had 91 wins, never took a second or third place in his black belt career.
He admitted he lost in a tournament. He said, yes, I lost because disqualification, because I dislocated my shoulder. But it never states how the shoulder was dislocated.
And his only defeat come to my hand for the light heavyweight championship of the world. I had beaten Fred Wren and that gave me the right to fight Mike Stone for his title. And Mike is very good, very proficient with his techniques, very intimidating, but so was I. We had never fought, and we knew it was going to come down to a day where we were going to have to go against each other. Mike undefeated. Mike had hurt a few people that day, as he normally does. And we traded techniques back and forth, blocking out the other one. I came in with a drop kick. Very seldom you get away from my drop kick, but he blocked it. And I said to myself, pretty good. Next thing I know, Mike Stone was drop kicking on me. Well, I blocked his, and I'm pretty sure he said, I think it's pretty good. He come in with a sweep, a Taitoshi sweep and ridge hand between the eyes. Well, after trading back and forth, we're into sudden death. Mike come in and he hooked me for his Taitoshi sweep. His ridge hand was coming and I saw it coming. And I said, oh, I'm in his trap. Thank God I knew judo very well. John Osaka countering techniques was going to pay off. Because just as he hooked me and was coming in at me, I countered by dropping lower, catching his calf, and I swept him just as hard as I could. And I countered coming with a ridge hand, and I caught him between the eyes and swept his leg, and away he went airborne, and he come down on his head and shoulder and dislocated his shoulder. I had swept him and did the hurt on him that he normally does on everyone else.
It didn't state to say that Vic Moore beat him so bad it dislocated his shoulder. It just said, I lost to Vic Moore for disqualification. So they are easy in there, but leave out most of the truth. They didn't lie. He lost. He admits to that. He admits who he lost to. But saying I lost to somebody, but not admitting how I lost, that's the gap that closes.
So they want to just take that incident and just shove it up under the rug. He went for years and years saying that he never been defeated, and there's not a man alive that could beat him. And they kept nudging him and saying, well, what about that Vic Moore? Well, he was the only one, and that was a team competition. But they never want to say how he dislocated his shoulder. They never want to say that he got swept. He was ridge hand, that Vic Moore had beat him. So a lot of the black accomplishments was never known. Some of the top karate people in the country were black, but you never hear about them. I'll start off with myself. I defeated every national champion out there. But they very seldom wanted to write about Vic Moore. They would write about the Joe Louis, the Chuck Norris, the Mike Stone. These guys were good, but they were black just as good. They didn't write about the blacks. I defeated Jim Kelly in '69 out in California at the team championship. Sadly to say, they didn't even want to write about that. And in the write-ups, they mentioned all the white fighters who won this and that, and they never even mentioned Jim Kelly and I. We were two of the only blacks that was competing in the team championship. They never even mentioned us. Mention everybody else except us two, the two blacks. You know, they at least could have said Vic Moore and Jim Kelly was also present. Matter of fact, they even fought each other. Vic Moore beat Jim Kelly, or Vic Moore and Jim Kelly fought, you know, on such and such thing. But they were so prejudiced back in them days, they never even mentioned we were there. We had to ride the back of the bus. I had to sit on the bus while they bring me food out because I couldn't go in the restaurant. The owners, managers of the hotel would tell me I can't come in.
Vic Moore, who was the world champion, walks in. You have to go around to the back, you know, with a service. A white guy, Robert Trieste, who's the founder of American martial arts schools here, stated if he can't come to the front door, you can't have a tournament at this hotel, because he is the world champion.
Some of the promoters would tell you right up front, I know you've been winning a lot of tournaments, but you're not going to win this one because we're not going to even let you. And they wouldn't, because they would cheat, would not call you points. And therefore, they made sure that you didn't win. I had this gentleman tell me I can't even fight for first and second. I have to just fight for third and fourth. Telling me that's just gonna make me fight that much harder. I'm gonna really kick some tail on that. And it just made you fight that much harder. And therefore you got that much better. Chuck Norris was a real gentleman at all times. Now when he fought hard. Chuck Norris is a great fighter. Chuck Norris beat some people. Chuck Norris is for real. But after the match he was a gentleman. Before the match he was a gentleman. Now, hey, that's a real karate person. We had a battle and it was tied up. We were in sudden death. He come in for his spinning back kick. Instead of stepping back and blocking as most people do, I moved in and executed a reverse punch to his kidney, sending him to the floor for the match. That was the winning point. The judges didn't like that. There was so much prejudice back in the days. They stopped the match and wanted to have a meeting. They went into a room and spent 10 to 15 minutes before they came out. And when they come out, they says, well, we're gonna start the match over. Chuck Norris was surprised and he hold his hand and shake his head as to say, I don't know what's going on. So he, after the match, they had given it just to him off of just any little movement that he did. He was gentleman enough to come up to me and says, Vic, you know I didn't have anything to do with that. When we got ready to leave, leaving out the hall, he had his program and he wrote on his program to the guy that beat me. I think that was very nice, and I thank God for that program that he wrote to the guy that beat me. His wife also took her program and wrote on it to the guy that beat my husband. Every first tournament, Vic Moore was there, and he won.